In the Assassin's Creed franchise we have many protagonists. Well, I would like to know how fast you can hear each one's name for the first time in all 19 games on the screen. Here are the rules. My timer starts right after I click on New Game. I cannot skip any cutscenes. Modern time protagonists like Desmond, for instance, don't count. It needs to be a protagonist from the olden times. The protagonist can also be any playable character as long as they are important to the story. A random guy I play with in the prologue of Unity, for instance, will not count. And finally, my timer stops as soon as the name is spoken. Also, loading screens are very well hidden in many of the games, so removing them would be impossible, but since I play off of an SSD, that's not a problem, no game gets an unfair advantage. Let's begin with the original Assassin's Creed. In the first game you play as Altair. He's badass, I love his character. Unfortunately, we have a huge modern section at the start, in which of course Desmond is mentioned many times, but even in the tutorial section, which is huge, and you play as Altair, it's not spoken. His name is not spoken for quite a while. After this tutorial section you're put in a cave, and in the cave you do some bad stuff. But also here your name is finally spoken, let's hear it.
We were asked to retrieve the treasure and deal with Robert only if necessary.
He stands between us and it. I'd say it's necessary.
Discretion, Altair!
Yeah, Altair, rude. 16 minutes. That's a terrible start to this video. Let's move on to Assassin's Creed 2, the second game in the franchise in which you play as Ezio Auditore da Firenze. Get used to hearing this because in the next 3 games you play as this guy. So first of all we start in the modern times, of course. We gotta watch a lot of crap, lots of exposition, and we are put in the Animus. In the Animus we're transported to my birth, to Ezio's birth. This ugly little turd is Ezio, and he's gonna be named by this guy. Let's listen.
Listen to him. A fine set of lungs.
And what shall we call him, my love?
Ezio. Ezio Auditore da Firenze.
Da Firenze, I love hearing that name, dude. Anyway, next game is Brotherhood, of course with the same protagonist. Luckily for us, in the exposition they talk about the previous games. They mention Altair, but they also mention Ezio in the intro, opening intro in this game. Let's listen.
Back into another Animus I went. Now I'm reliving the memories of Ezio Auditore da Firenze.
Da Firenze, yeah. A minute and close to 40 seconds, very good. We are crushing the times, guys, it's getting smaller and smaller, that's what she said. Okay, let's move on to Revelations. Once again Ezio is spoken, and he is spoken again in the intro as they are giving exposition to the player.
First you were Altair, a stoic 12th century assassin from the Holy Land. Then you are Ezio Auditore.
Unfortunately, the Firenze was not spoken, but still this is the name, so I stopped my timer here. Like I said, dude is getting smaller and smaller, so far so good. But let's break this continuity and start Assassin's Creed 3, in which the protagonist's name is not spoken for quite a while. So who is the protagonist? Ratonakaton. I think that's how you pronounce it. Ratonakaton is the actual name, but people call him Connor. But also we have a second protagonist who is Haytham. So if I hear one of these two, I'm gonna stop my timer. And guess what? We are not gonna hear this name for a lot of time. We have a huge exposition, we are in a simulation afterwards, which is a kind of a tutorial section, and then we are put here in this huge building as Haytham. We just gotta hear his name, let's go.
Evening, Haytham.
Evening Haytham indeed. It took you 12 minutes, close to 13 minutes. Damn, dude. Let's move on to the DLC of Assassin's Creed 3. In this game we play as the same protagonist, Ratonakaton, or Connor if you prefer. Luckily for us the exposition is very short, and right afterwards the first thing you hear from a person is the name. Let's listen.
Ratonakaton. Ratonakaton, wake up.
Adonhangedon, rise, we must go.
Of course I stopped my timer the first time she said it, but I want you guys to judge me for my mispronunciation, so I left all of these in. This took less than a minute, finally! It's getting better, guys. Don't believe me? Well, let's move on to Liberation. In this game, the name is spoken at the very start. Before any gameplay begins, it's gonna take just half of a minute, dude. We have this awesome visual over here, we have a person talking, we have... Look at the effects, connect with the past. I'm not even gonna skip the footage, I'm gonna let you listen to this, or watch this, not listen to it. So who do you play as? As Aveline de Grandpré. I hope I pronounced it correctly, I really hope. I'm terrible with names, I'm sorry. Let's listen.
The product you have purchased allows you to access the memories of Aveline de Grandpré.
I love how she says it. De Grandpré. Damn, I'm so good. Okay, this took less than a half of a minute. Awesome! Let's move on to Black Flag. In this game you play as Edward Kenway, a pirate who I absolutely adore. So the game opens with a very action-packed battle. We have rain, we have ships, we have explosions, we have people screaming. We don't see blood, I don't think, but we have lots of action here. Unfortunately, nobody screams our protagonist's name. When his name is spoken is when he's in bed. Let's listen.
Is it dangerous? Edward.
Stupid woman, didn't you see it was dangerous? Edward, how do you put up with her? Anyway, 2 minutes and 45 seconds. Not too bad, but let's make it better, guys. Let's move on to Aveline, the first DLC. And what I'm gonna do is I'm not gonna talk at all. I'll just start the game and let you listen.
Aveline.
Aveline, the very first thing you hear in this DLC is Aveline, which of course makes sense because that's the name of the DLC too. Let's see any game top this. It's possible, but it would be difficult. Let's move on to the second DLC, Freedom Cry, which is pretty similar to Black Flag, the base game. You have rain, you have explosions, we have battles, we have ships, and all the same stuff as the base game. The funny thing is, so far in all the cutscenes we watched, and trust me, there were a lot of cutscenes, not a single time did we hear the name of the protagonist, which by the way is Adewale. I didn't mention that, but we did not hear it. And also, after an hour of gameplay, I played for an hour just to hear it. They mentioned him once after this hour. But watching back my footage, guys, I noticed that during the storm they actually mentioned his name. It was not in a cutscene, it was during gameplay, but there was like lots of effects and lots of other sounds, so it was difficult to hear. Let's see if you can spot it. Did you hear that? He said Adewale, that's the protagonist's name. I wasted an hour, dude, on this, but we can hear it in 9 minutes and 10 seconds, which is actually faster in the first game so far. Alright, next up is Rogue. Here you play as Shay Patrick Cormac, and he's not afraid to mention that himself, because he talks to himself for some reason. Luckily he says it very quickly in the opening intro.
I could not have imagined what the future had in store for me, nor the cost I would choose to bear. My name is Shay Patrick Cormac.
Yeah, you're very badass, sure, okay. This guy is very pretentious, I think. What do you think? Let's move swiftly to Unity. The thing with Unity is that, unfortunately guys, we have a prologue section. In the prologue you don't play as a protagonist. I think the protagonist is not even born yet, because when the actual game begins, he's a child. So this whole opening section is 8 minutes and we don't see the protagonist, we don't even hear him. He is this little polite boy, let's listen to his name.
Arno.
That's right, Arno is the protagonist of this game. If the prologue was not here, this would have been so much faster, because it was spoken very quickly. But anyway, let's move on to Syndicate. For some reason, this game treats us like idiots, because they mention the names about 10 times in the opening intro. They have to really make us remember the names. It's 2 names, dude. Jacob and Evie. They said so much that in my sleep I can hear the stupid names. It's completely not necessary, but they do. Let's listen.
I don't like it when those two go off book like this. Well, all we can do is take a deep breath and move forward. You'll be searching for the piece of Eden through the lives of Jacob.
She says Jacob and Evie, but we hear Jacob, which is a protagonist. So I stopped my timer after 1 minute and 57 seconds, close to 2 minutes. Kinda crazy since it took 2 minutes to say the names, but in the next 5 minutes they say it like 5 times at least. Let's move on to the DLC of Syndicate, in which the protagonists are the same exact people. And who are they? I'm not gonna repeat the names, because I'm not Ubisoft. Luckily for us, Jacob is spoken in the intro of this DLC.
Where prostitutes are being mutilated and left on grotesque display for the world to ogle. Jacob Fry.
Don't worry, Jacob did not do that, he's trying to prevent what happened. He's not the bad guy here, don't worry about it. Let's move on to Origins. In this game we play as Bayek. Bayek is not spoken very much, at least in the intro. And also the first time he is spoken is not in a cutscene. So we watch the opening, we fight a dude, we fight him a second time, we go through a dark cave, we climb out, and once outside we have to fight a bunch of people. Let's listen.
Watch out!
Okay, so here's what happened. Hepzibah screamed Bayek, but at the same time a different person was also screaming, so you could not hear Bayek, but he was spoken. You can see it in the subtitles. So I'm gonna count this. This took 6.5 minutes, and we can move on to Assassin's Creed Odyssey. In this game we also have a prologue section, which is actually very lengthy. There's lots of cutscenes, including a modern time cutscene, which sucks. That's right, the cutscenes are still not finished. We fly as a bird here. And finally we can see Cassandra. This is Cassandra, the protagonist in this game. She sat down and she's singing some stupid stuff. After she beats up 2 people, she talks to a little girl and she mentions her name.
Do you think Zeus would bless me with an ego like he blessed you, Cassandra?
That's right, we heard Cassandra in 13 minutes. Whoa boy, is Valhalla gonna have the same fate? Luckily no. Why luckily? Well, because the opening section is enormous. If I had to watch the whole goddamn thing again, because you know I have different touch videos, I touch different things in different videos, and if I had to watch the whole goddamn thing again, which is like 15 minutes, the opening is like 15 flipping minutes, I was gonna lose my mind. But okay, let's calm down. I spawn as a little kid, and I have to open this door. That's right, Eivor is spoken in less than 2 minutes. Awesome! In the DLC of Valhalla you play as Eivor, who is also called Odin, and also Javi. They have different names and different genders as well for some reason. And luckily for us we hear Javi very quickly.
If he is truly conspiring with Sutor, you'll know my everlasting wrath.
Will he, Javi?
Yeah, really, Javi? So many names? Stop it. A little over 2 minutes. And we have one game remaining, which is called Mirage. In Mirage we play as Basim, and his name is mentioned in the intro of this game, in a pretty epic opening cutscene. Let's listen.
Centuries ago, he was at its heart. Basim ibn Ishaq.
Basim Ishaq. Yeah, that sounds awesome. Not as awesome as Ezio Auditore de Firenze, but still, good name buddy. This took 1 minute and 13 seconds. Let's see all the times so far. Congrats to Aveline DLC, Liberation, and also Tyranny of Kings Washington. So 2 DLCs won this challenge. We have 7 games with less than 2 minutes, 6 games with less than 10 minutes, and we have the big boys Assassin's Creed 3, which is kinda weird because its DLC is the second fastest. We have Odyssey because of the huge prologue, and of course the original because of the huge tutorial section. I hope you guys enjoyed. What else should I touch? Let me know in the comments section. Leave a like if you enjoyed, thank you for watching, and a special thank you to Ola Velikanen, Keznaj, Shanpaska, Faith, Monish Puri, Pahirsas, Chishinte, Bad Boy Hero, Jebediah, Redux, Verseti Gwen, Jim Francescos, and everybody else.